Hello, welcome to Monte Carlo to Marlow. This podcast is sponsored by the Marlow Living Loyalty app. Welcome, Millie, to Monte Carlo to Marlow. Tell us where you are at the moment. We've just had a discussion about exactly where you are.
Yeah, so I am in an office on just behind Charlotte Street Hotel in the West End of London. I say West End, not Central, because I'm old. I still like to say the West End. I think it all sounds much more glamorous than Central. My kids always going Central.
I still say going into town.
I say going into town all the time. And I've got an office here. I own a PR agency and a sort of comms agency, and then I also run the British Beauty Council, and so we share the office. So that I can oversee both businesses and I don't have to sort of keep moving from one place to another. But I love it. It's a shop front, I love it. I'm an old shop girl.
So whereabouts? Because you're obviously
literally
in the street
opposite. Yeah, so literally, we are next to the Newman's Arms, which is an old pub that's just been redone. I don't know if you've seen it. It's just been redone. I'm not a fan of what they've done, to be honest.
No, Newman Passage, where many films were always being filmed in that little cobblestone.
Yeah, there's always people filming around there. What films were filmed there? You have to give me the rundown on that. Duke of York's had a makeover and it actually looks quite good. And they've removed the picture of Andrew.
I was just going to say, did they remove
Thank
Andrew?
God. Because I would walk outside the office and the first thing you do is see this picture of Prince Andrew and you're just like, this is so not okay. Please get rid of this. And they did. They've redone it. And it's actually really quite awesome because they've got all tables and chairs now out in Charlotte Place.
Oh, have they? Okay.
Yeah, it's really chic. When you're in town next time, let me know.
So I know where you are really well. I'm going to take you back to knowing when you kind of first got into the beauty industry. And when I was looking up some of the different podcasts and interviews you've done, and I didn't realize this about you, but I think I was really fascinated by Estee Lauder, Helena Rubinstein, all the sort of really old school beauty icons. At what sort of age did you become a bit fascinated by them?
Goodness, that's really difficult to sort of pinpoint an age. I mean, I guess my dad's a hairdresser. My mum was a bit of a punk, so not into beauty. But it was my grandmother was quite a sort of she was Ukrainian, very sort of Zsa Zsa Gabor kind of glamorous kind of thing. Always wore a towel over her shoulders while she was getting ready and would spit in her mascara. She used a block mascara.
The block mascara.
She used a block mascara and Nivea and stuff like that. And I guess I'd always been quite fascinated with the sort of routine and regime of that sort of morning thing. I still have a dressing table. I don't get ready in the bathroom. Can't stand it. I feel like a bathroom is where I wash and my dressing table is where I get ready. And I think there's a sort of element of glamour attached to some of those the Elizabeth Ardens and the Helena Rubinsteins, those beauty founders of the past. So there's just an element. I mean, even down to people like Anita Roddick. There's an activism / glamour about them that I think is I find really appealing.
So you mentioned Anita Roddick. I was going to say to you, who do you think? Obviously, sadly, she has passed, but who do you think is around now that might be taking over the gauntlet of people like
Charlotte Tilbury, Lisa Eldridge, Pat McGrath, Jamie Genevieve, who's got this amazing brand called Vive. I mean, there's some amazing British pioneers. If you think back to the Lauders, Elizabeth Ardens and the Rubinsteins, although they were sort of maybe immigrants, from Eastern Europe, they were predominantly American. And I think we've taken over globally completely. Which is why what I do is so exciting, because I think when I started the council, it was right at the beginning of this sort of amazing explosion of these fabulous British brands. It's not that we hadn't had them before. They just hadn't been as global as we would have liked. Though I know there's that whole story about Body Shop tried to launch in the US and it really struggled originally back in the 80s, 90s. And nowadays we're so well regarded that people are clamoring for all our brands. But I mean, Charlotte's brilliant. You can't beat.
Charlotte really pumped up the glamour, didn't she, in terms of British? It wasn't necessarily something British brands did. So maybe Charlotte did sort of really pave the way for a lot of the younger brands.
Yeah, I think also Pat had a really strong profile. I mean, we've always had very good hair and makeup artists in here, in the UK. They were always back of house. And when they came out front of house, it was very much about Bobby Brown and Trish McAvoy. So you've got amazing hairdressers that are globally renowned, amazing makeup artists that are globally renowned. But it took us a while to develop our brands to the level of success that's required to be a global player. And I've forgotten about Beckham as well. Victoria Beckham obviously is also another one with a great brand. Plus, it's taken us a little while to do it. Charlotte is particularly flamboyant, and I think that that's definitely opened those doors. I mean, I think that Charlotte's personality definitely has sort of been. I think I think the thing is that British founders of beauty brands, particularly, aren't necessarily shouty and
No,
flamboyant
we're
necessarily.
just
We're
more low
quite
key.
sort of demure, we're very more low key, and I think that she's really shone a spotlight.
And there's film business as well. We're always really up there in terms of all the behind the scenes stuff as well.
We've got some people on our board who are, award-winning makeup artists. Nadia Stacey, Lizzie Giorgio. They have created some. I mean, I think Lizzie did something where she had to paint. I can't remember which one movie it was for, but one of the Marvel movies where she had to develop a way of painting somebody completely blue or green or something, and whatever it was that she put on them had to basically hold up underwater without stopping their skin from breathing. So we've got some amazing
Mm.
talent in this country. We're always at the forefront of that. Academy Awards and BAFTA.
So before, obviously, British Beauty Council has sort of taken over your life a bit now, I guess. But pre that, talk about sort of how you first got into the beauty industry.
Yeah, so my dad's a hairdresser, and I was that sort of slightly disappointing kid that didn't want to stay in school, and so I started working in hairdressing, and I'm just not good at hair. I don't have that ability to see something and then make my hands do what I've seen. I can see it, I just can't physically do it. My brain and my hands don't connect. And so I ended up doing makeup at a shop that was owned by a company called Shu Uemura. It was a Japanese cosmetic company. This was in LA. So my dad moved to America in 1979. So we all moved to the US. I started working for Shu Uemura, and I absolutely love the medium of makeup. I think I just found my like one true love. I mean, I love skincare and body care and hair and all that kind of stuff, and I'm completely obsessed with treatments and all that. But give me a bit of makeup, and I'm absolutely like in my element. Do not talk to me, and I'll lock the door. Make sure everyone's outside.
It's
I
so
don't know
funny that
why.
we kind of
Yeah,
gravitate to different
yeah,
parts of
yeah.
the beauty industry. Yeah.
Well, it's so diverse. There's so many things you can do. But again, I was never going to be a makeup artist because I've got the attention span of a gnat and I can only do half a face. But I could design something really good. So I started working with a lot of makeup artists, running Shu Uemura. I was doing it from across multiple countries. And I started sort of working with friends of mine who are makeup artists. They'd come over to my house. We'd have a couple of glasses of wine. I'd go, look how amazing this black lipstick is, or look how amazing this purple mascara is, or whatever it was. They would go off, do it at the shows, and then all of a sudden it would become quite mainstream. There'd be a big feature on it in magazines, and it would drive sales for the brand that I was representing. And then I got approached by other brands, and I ended up sort of like launching mostly American, but some international brands in the UK. So I worked with Aveda, launched them, Tweezerman, L'Occitane, Shu Uemura, sort of brands like that, medium-sized businesses at the time. And I guess I was too young and naive to realize that the success that those brands had, it wasn't just me. I was part of a team in all of them, but they all sold. Aveda sold to Lauder, and Shaw Morris sold to L'Oreal, and I made no money out of that, not a penny. And yet I'd done a lot of the work to get those brands to the position where they could sell. And you sort of start to become a bit like, now what am I doing wrong? Let's figure out what I can do right. And this opportunity just landed in my lap. That was one of the buyers at one of the stores that I was working at had gone to uh, work at Boots, and Boots approached wanting to talk about Aveda, and they wanted to launch Aveda in Boots, and I said, "There's no way Aveda will ever go into Boots." We talked about a makeup brand, and they said, "Would you be interested in developing something?" And I was working with Ruby at the time, and we said, "Fine, let's go for it." I say we said, "Fine, let's go for it." It took us about a year and a half.
Oh God, with Boots, it must
Yeah.
have taken a long time.
Yeah. Well, to be honest with you, most of that time was me kind of thinking about what I wanted, whether I wanted to do it or not. Because the idea is that Ruby and I would do this makeup brand, and we would be the faces of the makeup brand. And we came up with that idea, but then I thought, crap, I don't know if I want to be the face of this brand. Like I'd always been a back of house person. I'd never been, in the front. So I felt quite nervous about being the front of house person. And if you look at all the pictures of me and Ruby, I'm always slightly standing behind her.
But when I started Beauty in the Dirt back like 25 years ago, I centered it around a character called Mimi because I had a hair and makeup agency at the time, and it was all me, 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 with calling
Yeah,
in, getting
yeah,
their
yeah,
makeup.
yeah, yeah.
And I didn't want it to be about me, even though actually, obviously, I was writing it all. I really wanted to be the person behind it and
Yeah,
not be the Tara PT it girl. I just wanted it to be this sort of like little cartoon character. So I didn't
yeah,
want it
yeah,
to.
yeah. I mean, you do disassociate yourself slightly when you are the face of a brand because when you walk into store, you kind of see your sort of image, God knows how many feet high, and you just think, yeah, that's not me. You have to disassociate yourself. Well, I had to anyway. I was not into looking at myself in those stores. I mean, I stopped shopping in Boots because I couldn't walk into the stores anymore. I mean, it was in it was in 100 stores or more than 100 stores.
What was the process like? Did you
Do
love
you know
it?
what? Yeah, I mean, I think developing the brand was probably the best part of it. I mean, anyone will tell you if they've got a brand, the development side of it, I think, is really good fun. I mean, I was very clear about what I wanted, and I'm a real numbers person. I do like data, so I did a spreadsheet, kind of developed a spreadsheet and a system of kind of creating a color spectrum. It was all very sort of mathematical, and I think most people will tell you it's when that product gets on the shelf and you have to sell it is when the shit hits the fan and
Yeah.
you're like, oh crap, now I have to do some hard work. But developing it was absolutely bliss. I mean, Ruby and I had the best time developing it. We kind of loosely split it between sort of packaging, design, marketing, and comms, and then formulation and sort of being the sort of makeup artist front person. So we split it really succinctly. I feel, it was really easy. We agreed on absolutely everything. And we agreed that if we didn't agree on everything together, it wouldn't ever come to market. And so that was quite easy, I thought. That became quite a simple
And when you
process.
were developing it, were you particularly inspired by any products or sort of not even just makeup ranges, but even for in terms of packaging? What kind of brands were around at that time that
I mean,
you
I
really
really
loved?
only ever wanted to do something that was similar in terms of the sort of clear packaging to Shuamura, and that was because I had learned over the years, having worked for the company for so long, I'd learned a sort of narrative around the seeing what you've got inside is more important than having the sort of weird shroud of not knowing what the volume of the
Yeah,
product
people want
was
to
or
see that
anything like
color.
that. Yeah, and also sort of just knowing what you're getting for your money. It was very much around a stylish, accessible, reasonably priced product line that was just available to everybody, but was very transparent. And I know people use that word transparent a lot now, but actually ours was transparent, not just in packaging, but in terms of the messaging around everything.
Yeah, it was
We didn't
so
have fancy names and it wasn't all rubbish.
it
It
was
was,
really
yeah,
pioneering at its time. I always think sometimes when you're the first to market, you're not always the most successful. Sometimes being
yeah,
that
yeah.
pioneer doesn't always bring you the success. There might be a
Yeah,
bit of
we had no social
satisfaction.
media. We had none of that that can like help build a brand these days. I mean, we didn't have any of that. I mean, it was literally me sitting at the Soho House showing journalists literally unfinished product because when I went to press, I had no finished product even. You would never do that nowadays. Well,
No.
this is what this is going to look like.
Yeah. No, exactly.
So it was really renegade. I mean, I think the thing is that if I look back on my career, everything I've done is pretty much first to market. It's not always been the biggest or the most successful. I do definitely think I tap out at some point where I just think I can't get it to be any bigger than it is. I think you have to recognize that in your career.
Or sometimes you put all that energy, and again, I'm looking at a similarity with sort of Beauty in the Dirt and
Mm.
Handpicked Media even, it's almost like all your energy went into making it. And there's a sustainable amount of energy that you can have.
The same, you were pioneering in the whole sort of that sort of the new media. That was you were
And I
right
think
on the
there's only
cusp
so
at the
much
beginning of
time.
that.
And I think when other people come in, you're a bit like, as you say, you're just ready to tap out. You're like, okay, I'm on to my next thing.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
I call
Serial entrepreneurs. Yeah, we're serial entrepreneurs.
it doesn't always bring in all the money, but it makes your head keep
No,
working.
I'm like fascinated. Like I've been thinking about what my exit is, and I've been fascinated with having a podcast because I get interviewed a lot. But actually, I'm really interested in other people. Super interested. and other things, you know.
I set this up because actually I've been getting in touch with, like you, we haven't spoken to each other
Yeah,
for a while, but I think I first knew you when you were at Aveda. I think that's kind of
yeah,
about,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
and what's been really nice about this is actually getting in touch with people I haven't spoken to for years. And because
yeah.
I've dealt with so many interesting people over the years, luckily, it's been so nice to reconnect and say, what are you doing now? And people are doing such amazingly different
Yeah,
things.
yeah,
That's the thing, it's being interested in people's stories.
yeah. I mean, I'm weirdly interested in finding things like I like cricket. I mean, you know, somebody was saying do a podcast called Cricket and Concealer, you know, or something like that. You know, I like music. I've always been really interested in music, and I've always been sort of I've not always gone out with musicians, but I've mostly gone out with musicians, as you do.
So
Yeah.
so you launched your range,
Yes.
and then obviously that, must have been a huge amount of energy. But then you've kind of always been doing PR and marketing for other people as well in the
Yeah.
background.
Yeah. So I've always had that sort of PR agency piece. I mean, I didn't do that in the beginning of Ruby and Millie because it was impossible to PR your own brand.
Yeah.
And I ended up selling the PR agency that I had. When I resigned, so I resigned from Ruby and Millie in 2009 or 10. I can't remember the exact date now. And it was just an obvious thing, really, to sort of start doing comms again.
Do you find it now, considering how long we've both been in this industry now? Where's your energy focus? Because obviously your mailing list is now hundreds and hundreds, whereas you used to have
Yeah.
magazines. How do you navigate that with all the influencers? How do you decide who's
I mean,
important?
I don't, to be perfectly honest with you, I don't do anything. I have a managing director who runs
I know
everything,
you
and
have a
he's brilliant.
team, but you must have a kind
Yeah.
of an overall strategy that you all sit down and chat about.
Yeah, I think there's a split mix between influencers and content creators, key opinion leaders, etc., and press. With the Beauty Council, I deal more with press. I don't deal with that as much in terms of
Yeah.
the comms that I do. I still think there's a lot of value in the Sunday Sups, the Sunday supplements. I think there's a lot of value in getting some newspaper, you know, really chunky,
I
nice
always thought
newspaper
for a long
pieces.
time those magazines were gonna be the most influential, really, not the
Yeah,
monthly.
I think in a lot of spaces they are, but I think that now with the podcast piece, I mean, I'm super into politics, so now I listen to literally political podcasts all the time, and whether that's Christian Amanpour, who's my idol, to
I
you
love
know,
her.
obviously rest is politics, newsagent stuff like that. So I think there's a sort of so I think in terms of media, it's the same approach. It's just the database is just wider and
Yeah.
more vast, and you tend to have, rather than just having media executives, you have a focus on influencer engagement or print media executive. So that you focus the team a little bit more because each one has an expertise.
Do you think the brands have sort of calmed down a bit in terms of wanting to have everything 5 to 10 influencers that was always the ones that every brand needed to have, or we have to be on their page? Do you think they've calmed down and they've realized that actually you've still got to spread it quite thinly now? Or is it still that it has to be, the person that's got 5 million and you can't afford them?
I think there's a mix. It depends what kind of brand. I mean, sometimes it is literally, and I always say this, it's like going to Vegas and you've got the slot machine and it's having the lemons lining up. You've got to have the right product with the right influence at the right time, and it just you can't always get it right. So, for example, one of the Kardashian clan posted how much they love Willie the Skin Food, and that's a PR client of ours. I mean, ka-ching, hello. You know, 3 years ago it was Victoria Beckham saying she used it as a hand cream, pitching again. And you just have to, it's just luck. It's not strategic at all. Who
Yeah.
knew? We could have sent that to her 3 years ago. We have no idea that she might have just discovered it. There's such a volume of beauty products being sent to these influencers that you have no control over when and how they talk about them. You can only hope that at some point they pick it up. Yeah.
And I think that was the thing. I was actually doing a talk last night and talking about how when Twitter and bloggers started, it was like the Wild West. Suddenly, all the brands that were used to having X amount of people that they knew they'd get something in Cosmo if they sponsored the cover.
That many launches. You had like two major launches every year, March and September. Now, a product's launching every half an hour.
I know it's crazy. I don't know how they do
It's
it.
way too much, to be honest. I think that overconsumption is the thing that frustrates me the most. But
Who do you think's doing it well at the moment? What kind of beauty brands are on your radar?
I mean, in terms of comms and that sort of social media strategy,
Yeah,
I think we're leaders doing it brilliantly. Personally, I think
yeah,
they just a brand that was started by Rudolf Steiner that's over 100 years old this year,
100
and
this year.
you can't really beat it. I think it's 100 this year. So I think we're leader is pretty much a leader, and you're talking about a 9 or 10 pound tube of skin food, that is just iconic and
It's in my
everyone uses
bathroom,
it.
and I love the spray.
Yeah, I think they're doing it brilliantly. You can't really knock Sol de Janeiro. I know it feels like it's come out of nowhere, but the Bum Bum Cream was around for quite a while, I think, before. I think
Yeah,
L'Occitane have done a brilliant job on letting that brand run. They haven't bought it and killed it. They've literally grown it and developed it and allowed it to grow. And actually looking at, I think the numbers that the L'Occitane group numbers this year have been really good, like 3.8 billion or something. They've done really
amazing.
well as a group, and they've got Arborian and Sol de Janeiro and LMS and obviously L'Occitane. So I think they've done really well. And I think Sol de Janeiro, which is a sort of jewel in their crown, is really down to their ability to allow the brand to grow, but to keep the marketing and some of the product development local. So I think they've done that really cleverly. And also, it's a very good looking brand. And I have friends of mine in their late 50s, early 60s who are obsessed with it. And then my daughter who's obsessed with it, so it's got quite a wide and diverse customer, I think.
So, talk to me about the British Beauty Council and why you decided that that was important. Because I remember when you set that up, and it was all about Fashion Week, and it was all about what money that the fashion industry brings into the UK. But you were really passionate about trying to explain that beauty industry is really
Yeah.
powerful too.
Yes, years and years of frustration of our industry being seen as a poor relation and having no respect. And you look on Instagram, there's these videos of what British girls look like, and their faces are orange and their eyebrows are thick slugs. And it's like this very beautiful girl going, "I'm going to do English girl makeup," and then she looks horrendous afterwards with the big inflated lips and. Oh, it's just awful. So there's that side of it, there's that sort of lack of respect, lack of understanding, maybe that's some people, but it's not everyone in the UK. And then there's the struggle that brands have, both with investment, export, post Brexit, all of that kind of stuff. And again, I'm really into politics. And when David Bowie died, and then Prince died, and then Trump was elected, and then the country decided to Brexit, and I just thought, I live in a block of flats where there's 8 flats. Actually, that means that 4 out of 8 of my neighbours might have voted for Brexit. I felt quite sick because I just didn't see it coming, and a lot of
We were in a bubble in London, though.
yeah,
We had no idea, did we?
we had no idea the rest
No,
of the country felt like that.
no.
I think they probably some of them regret it now, but at the time I had calls from friends who were really frustrated, who didn't know what to do in the future. So I just it was sort of slightly accidental, but I guess in the back of my mind I'd always wanted to do something like this, but I didn't really know it was going to end up being a lobby group, because that's essentially what we are. We call ourselves an advocacy group, but you strip that away, it's lobbying. Just I'm like you. I'm a doer. I do something. I don't often think about it. I just get on and do it,
Yeah.
and I clean up the mess afterwards, because that's what I do. Somebody mentions something to me, I go straight to registering, and I go on the ipo.gov website, register trademark, register the URL.
Yeah, it's the URL there.
I
What
just,
handle?
yeah, exactly. I check people out in company's house, make sure that everything's kosher, and then I just go and do it. But so we started the British Beauty Council, and I mean, at first I sort of went in front of people that I respected in the industry. I organised this big meeting, and I got a lot of people around the table saying, "This is what we're going to do. What do you think?" Some people were like, "Never going to work." Some people were like, "Try it, see what happens." Other people were like, "Absolutely."
It feels like a no-brainer now, doesn't it? It's crazy
Yeah,
to think
yeah.
that.
And then I just recruited loads of friends of mine from over the years to just help with the amplification of it, and just to help with kind of giving it some validity. Because the thing that happens when you start something new, and this as well as I do, is you have to prove. There's an element of proof in what you're doing, particularly when you're saying there's a purpose. So it was just one of those things. I was so worried that it wouldn't work. So I just built everything on really solid foundations, everything from our rules and our articles of association, and how we were going to be governed, and who we were going to be governed by, and what the sort of sign off procedures would be on everything. Because The thing is that everyone's eyes are on you and they're all looking
Yeah, I mean,
at
you've
what
got to
you're
be
about to do.
extra vigilant if you're setting up something that is called the British Brown Beauty Council.
Yeah, it's not quite the same. And the thing is that you can't, I mean, a lot of people don't know this, but you can't use the words British Council in the title of your organisation unless it's actually approved by government anyway.
Yeah.
So you have to prove you're a required preeminent body. I was at an event the other day and somebody was calling themselves the British something, hair consortium. And I was like, has that been approved? Because you can't just say you're the British anything without it being approved by the British government. And apparently it hadn't.
It's crazy. I did
Yeah.
a wellness festival in Monte Carlo, in Your Element Festival. That's where I launched
Mm.
it. And I had to get permission from the government and Prince Albert to even just do a festival and claim that it was launched in Monte
Yeah, no,
Carlo.
I'm sure. I mean, yeah, yeah.
So
You have to, you do have to prove yourself.
yeah, you've got to
That's
prove
the challenge.
yourself. But then you had so many really credible people that were behind you that obviously it became something that was really credible from a really early on.
Yeah. I mean,
And you found yourself in number 10. You've been awarded
yeah, I mean, there was a
MBEs.
time when I was going, yeah, no, well, I got the MBE before that. I got that when I did Ruby Millie, which is slightly weird. That was weird because it was like just post COVID and it was like really kind of quite challenging. The whole setup was really different from what I'd experienced before. I wasn't expecting that at all. No, you know what? It's been amazing. It's been an amazing ride. I mean, I'm very familiar with Number 10. We're there quite a lot. We're in Parliament a lot. It's a kind of weird environment, but when you know your industry better than they do, it makes it a little bit easier because you're going in and you're talking from a level of experience that they don't have. Like I don't have their experience, but they don't have mine. And there's always that thing with the beauty industry where we feel a little bit like a bit impostery. Can we sit around a table with business leaders and finances and politicians? Well, they don't know about our industry. You just have to say to them, this is it's 32.4 billion pounds of consumer spending, 30 billion pounds of,
It's incredible.
contribution to GDP, 700,000 people work in our industry. It's 1.1% of Britain's GDP. That's huge. And
Yeah.
they just, all of a sudden, all of their sort of preconceived bias just disappears. And then they want to know more. It just took a while to kind of get to the point where I could figure out how to sort of win them over. Even down to there's, you know, those relationships with ministers. They're very funny at first. They don't know you're a woman, you're in the beauty industry. They don't
Oh,
feel
it
like
must
they
be
can
so
connect
tough.
with
I
you.
can imagine.
Yeah. But then you just appeal to them. You make them laugh a little bit. You kind of pull out the sort of slightly the jokey side.
I mean, there's more females in politics now, thankfully.
I'm not so sure that's helpful, to be perfectly honest with you. Yeah, I'll tell you why. A lot of the women want to be seen to be wearing men's pants. And I think that it's more challenging, to be honest, because you explain to a man that even they've used 5 personal care products before they've left the house. They kind of get it. Women don't want to be seen to be having their hair blow dried too often or getting
It's just a
aesthetics
bit
or having
fluffy.
manicures and they think that it gives the wrong impression. So actually, in some respects, it can be more challenging. Now, I'm not saying it's terrible, but it's slightly more challenging to get women on side because they do not want to be seen to be succumbing to the fluffy stuff that girls do.
I think that we've been really lucky in the beauty industry. I know there's a lot of brands that are ultimately maybe owned by men, but I feel like I've worked with women predominantly in all my
Yeah, yeah,
career.
yeah.
I think when you speak to people that have worked in industries where there's male chauvinists and men get the top jobs, I always think I feel really lucky that I've just never been aware of any of that in the beauty industry. It's just been
Yeah,
women
yeah.
mostly.
I mean, I think the thing is that in our industry, there's still the top jobs are held by men. I mean, there's still more white men around the
Yeah.
boardroom table than there are women or anyone of color. There's not a lot of ethnic diversity in those boardrooms. Kind of hark back to the Barbie movie, where
Yes,
it's all men
exactly.
around the table.
Yeah.
But it's exactly that. So for an industry that is literally predominantly female, like almost 90% female in the private sector, the highest concentration of females in the private sector. The only other industry that's got more women is the NHS, which is a huge achievement because we're
Yeah.
driving a lot of revenue and we're a growth industry. So our industry is growing 4 times faster than the national economy, which means our businesses are propelled by women.
Yeah.
86% of them are owned by women, but yet those white men still have the top jobs.
Still making the
which is
decision.
frustrating. But because women are empathetic and we tend to work with women on a daily basis, we kind of ignore them.
I was going to say, they do feel like they don't really exist a lot of the time. I'm sure ultimately they're
Yeah, yeah,
making the
yeah, yeah.
decisions, but it does feel a lot like we are predominantly in an industry where females are taking the lead, really.
Yeah. I think to some respect, they are listening to us, but it's still I would like to see more diversity in that boardroom for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. So just to wrap up, if you were, 18, 19 and you want to get into the beauty industry and you don't want to be an influencer, let's hope, what would you say are the good places for people to get into the beauty industry? Where do you think is a growing part of it? Is it in development? Is it in
Oh, I
marketing?
think, yeah,
What do you think?
business development, marketing, I think, things like buying and merchandising, product development. I mean, we're looking at creating courses that segue young people from A levels into our industry by doing a sort of qualification. It's a 1 year degree kind of idea, 1 year technical qualification.
Beauty foundation, like an art foundation.
And it would be, so it's a 1 year, so it's really like the first year of a bachelor's degree,
Amazing.
and it would, with some placement, and we're looking at doing sort of maybe 3 to 4 different qualifications. But exactly that, marketing I think is very important, product development and product management is important. Everything from quality assurance to buying and merchandising, business development, always important. Everybody needs
Yeah.
a sales consultant. Everyone needs to sell product, and that's not just retail, that's wholesale as well. I think those are the areas. We've got a majority of our workforce are on the front end. They're in hair salons, nail technicians. That's the bulk of our workforce of front of house. But there's a growing industry back here that is, the back part of the supply chain, where we're developing great products and we're exporting great brands. And those businesses are essentially in a growth phase, and they need the support. They need the talent to grow their businesses.
It's still an exciting place to try and get into, even though there's a brand launching all the time. It's just trying to find someone, I guess, that you're passionate about, a bit like you with your makeup, whether it's hair or skin or body. What do you think about aesthetics at the moment, just quickly? Because I can't resist asking you about all
Yeah,
the.
I mean, I can't really sort of say too much, but there will be some changes to aesthetics, which is very welcome from our side. We've been lobbying the
That's good.
government since we started to professionalise the aesthetics industry. I mean, backroom Botox in a barber shop is just not
It's
acceptable.
frightening, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the most important thing for people to know is that Botox is a drug and it needs to be prescribed by a medical professional. Your beauty therapist cannot just pull it out of a fridge and start injecting you. So I would like the prescriber to be on premises, because I think that would stop a lot of
Mm.
botched jobs, quite frankly. I think that as part of our industry, I think it's great that we're using different tools and mechanisms to make ourselves feel better. I'm never opposed to that. I did think a long time ago that a lot of my makeup artists would be wise to learn aesthetics, because you can go to the best doctor on the planet for your Botox and filler, but if he hasn't got a good eye, you're going to look like an idiot. I
Yeah.
think actually if makeup artists could really benefit from doing some aesthetics training,
Yeah,
because I
you're
think
right.
a lot of my makeup artist friends who literally tell the doctor what to do look better than anybody else.
Well, they know the structure of the face and where light
Exactly.
falls and all those things. Yeah.
Exactly. So I think they're really good like that. I'm not opposed to it in its essence. I mean, I don't have fillers. I have Botox, but I don't have fillers, and I've never had anything else. I've been having a radio frequency and infrared, which I love, the laser stuff. Laser, I think, is brilliant because I've had like
Yeah,
all
I
my
haven't had
sun
lasers.
damage removed.
I had some couple of peels the other day. I found a really good person in Marlow. I'm still going to London, but I'm just not on the buzz of what's going on in London in
Well, I
terms
can
of who's good.
highly recommend Teresa Tomei and her. There's a
You've
girl
just
that
taken
works for
over it.
her. Just taken over at Claridge's, but there's a girl that works for her called Philippa, and she does this amazing like infrared treatment. And what it does is it heats up the
Mm.
lower layers of the skin, and it just gives you like a bit of a lift.
I definitely need that.
It's
Okay.
I've had it done twice. I think
Painful?
it's absolutely brilliant. Not at all. And I've got
Excellent.
the lowest threshold of pain. I have to take a Valium before Botox. Like, I'm not good like that
I've
at
never
all.
had Botox. I can't. It's a
I'm
good
fine
tip.
with injections. I mean, somebody's recommended me to do lower face Botox because my lip, and I'm like, I'm terrified. I'm not against it, but I think if it was me and I was the Minister of Beauty, I would say wait till you're 35
Yeah.
before you even think about doing anything. I think don't change your face. Maybe just enhance what's
Yeah.
deflating. Is that, if anything, I'm a full believer it should be regulated, because if something goes wrong and you're not a medical professional, you're not in a position to fix it, and then there it needs to be redressed. There needs to be some sort of register where everyone's listed, so that if you do get backroom Botox in a barber shop, you can absolutely then, be able to get the sort of support you need, because it can go horribly wrong,
I
so.
think you just named your next profession, Millie. Minister of Beauty.
No, Minister of Youth. What are you going to
I
say?
think we just had an idea of what you might be doing
Aesthetics
next.
practitioner. I think I said in the beginning I'm not very good with going to school. I'd have to go to school for 3 years to be an aesthetics practitioner. Oh, I'd love to be the Minister of
And it
Beauty.
sounds like
Yeah,
a Barbie profession as well, doesn't it?
yeah, it does, doesn't it? Yeah,
Oh, that's
it's so
brilliant. Listen,
funny.
thanks
It's
so
so
much
funny.
for chatting today. It's been really
Thanks so
nice
much,
to,
Krista. Lovely to see you. Hit me up
yeah,
when you're
you
next in
too.
town. We'll go to the Duke of York for a quick catch up.
Yes,